everyone, this is Heather with Christmas Design Institute, and today we're talking about floral arranging. So those of you that don't know, I used to own a flower shop for 10 years, so I've done probably 1 million floral arrangements in my life. And of course, as you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can arrange flowers or use silk flowers or design centerpieces. There is many topics to cover. So today we're just going to do part one, and I'm going to show you some different techniques that you can start incorporating into your home for Christmas. It's actually more Halloween time right now, so I just have some of my floral arrangements that I did for my spooktacular Halloween arrangement. And what I'd like to show you basically is just a really easy floral arrangement that you can put together, and you can duplicate this type of technique with any flowers that you want. So this is basically what you would do for a dozen roses, and then I just put together some other florals to incorporate into the arrangement, and we'll just kind of work backwards. So I have it put together here because I wanted to show you for storage. What I do is I don't take these apart. My goal is to do less work every single year, or if you don't have to do so much work on certain components, you can dedicate that time to something else. And so I like to keep my floral arrangements together. So in this case, we're going to work backwards, but I wanted to show you that you can take your floral arrangement out of the vase and then you just secure it together like this, and this is the way that you would store it. And then next year, you can come back and just pick the vase of your choice, put the floral arrangement in the vase, and you're ready to go. So I love doing things like that. This is another example of vase filler. So this is basically just glass, or they're not glass, they're plastic crystal pieces, I guess. I don't even know what they call them, but I get these at my wholesaler. They come in every different color you can imagine. You can use pine cones, whatever you want for a vase filler. This is, just basically the stems are exposed in this glass vase. So if you're using a vase that's not clear, you don't obviously need the filler. But I like to put in the filler after I'm done with the floral arrangement, just to cover your mechanics is what we call it. So if you've already taken the Principles of Design course, you'll know that this is called the mechanics, and that's covering up the way that you put things together. And you definitely want to do that. That's a component of being a professional designer. You want to make sure that you cover up how you put things together to make it a cohesive and a very eye-pleasing design. Okay, so let me show you how I did this one. So I'm going to just lay these down here, okay? Now there's two ways that you can do this. You can put your vase filler in first, or I actually there's two different things to this. So I'm a professional designer and I've been doing this for 24 years. So I know how to manipulate my arrangements without using an infrastructure. So an infrastructure would be things like your vase filler. And that is going to help you keep things in place as you design. So if you're just putting things in an empty vase with no infrastructure, you might have a hard time, if you're a beginner, getting the arrangement to look the way that you want. For me, I actually prefer to do this because I can manipulate, because I've been doing this for so long. I just like doing it that way. But if you use a vase filler, then you can actually put things and put the stems in the vase, and it's going to have a little bit more of a hold. So we'll go ahead and just show you that way first, okay? So you want different components, and you have short stems, you have long stems, and if you're just doing a floral arrangement like this, this is a tall arrangement. I use this in the center of my table, but we remove it if we're going to eat there. So it's just more of a display piece. And like I said, this is more of a dozen roses sort of type of arrangement that you're putting together. So you want to have different types of flowers, a variety of different types, and different types of fun elements. So for example, this one's for Halloween. So we have little eyeballs here and things like that. So these are all related to a Halloween feel. And that's the arrangement that I'm putting together for right now. So how you want to measure is basically not all the stems are going to be perfect in length when you get them. So you're going to have to manipulate, and you would use your wire cutters for that. And how you measure is however tall you want the arrangement. So this was my first measurement, and I want it to be about this tall. So let's say the stem was way longer. What you're going to do is pull the vase to the edge of your table, and you just put it against the vase itself where you want the edge and the tallness to be, and you just cut off the bottom. So it measures exactly the way that you want it and how tall you want it. But if you look and see the crystals here are holding these stems in place exactly where I want them. So as you get to be a better designer, you can decide how you want to do that, if you want to put in your crystals first or if you want to put them in later. So I'm going to move this over to the side because I see that we're kind of in the way here. So I'm just taking different elements of flowers, and I start with the big tall one in the middle. That's going to be your center, and you're going to take your other components, which in this case happens to be some of this wispy grass and some of the roses. We're just going to go around in a circle. The other thing you can utilize is a turntable if you want to do that. So as you can see, I'm kind of having an issue with the crystals, and I don't like that. I like to just be able to put the stems in the vase. So you'll have to play around with it and determine how you like to put floral arrangements together and how it works for you in the beginning as you become a better designer. But for me, sometimes I feel like this is a little bit harder, just personally for me. Okay. So we're just working our way around, putting in our filler. And you're going to want a substantial amount of florals. I just dropped this on the floor. And you can sort of follow a recipe, and you can make that up as you become a better designer, or you can follow my recipes. And basically, it just kind of depends on what you're putting together. So if you're working on a Valentine's Day arrangement, you're working with 12 roses, then you would do filler and those flowers particularly. But for this case, it's a variety. So I buy whatever I think I'm going to need and then a little bit extra, because you just don't know when the arrangement comes together how you're going to like it. Okay. So now I'm just going in and filling in here. Now this is the time where you can start putting in the shorter pieces, and some of these are going to be the right length and some of them aren't. And so after you kind of establish your design here, you can start putting things together. And if you have a piece that's a little bit too long, if you can't get it all the way in, you can just pull it out and you can cut the stem. You don't have to make sure that everything goes all the way to the bottom. Especially when you're working with an artificial design like this, it doesn't need to go to the bottom because it's not putting the flowers in water as if you would be working with fresh flowers. Fresh flowers is a completely different ballgame because the materials are different, and you have to make sure that all of the flowers become saturated if you're using foam, and also saturated if you're using a vase of water. But fortunately for us, we are not doing that today. We are just using artificial. So what I'm doing with these roses is just I'm making my circle. So these are the focal points of the top. And I'm just going around here. Now this is the first layer. So now I want to fill it in from here down to the vase. So this is the easy part. Now you just go around and fill in. So depending on how tall your stems are, that's going to allow you to figure out what stems are going to go where. And I dropped some on the ground here. Looks like we have one more rose. So you always want to step back too and kind of get a different view, and then you can also turn your vase. And just as you design, my floral arrangement is getting in front of me. As you put things together, it's not a race, so take your time. And also one thing I learned in floral school is that you're the boss. So don't let your flowers win. So if you want something somewhere, make sure it goes there. Okay? So now I'm just going around, we're filling in. And as it becomes more full, it's going to be easier to put these stems in place. Okay, so we're just going to keep taking these little guys. Now, like I said before, since these guys don't need to be in water, even though they're short, you can still put them higher, because as you put things in a vase, they're going to help each other hold position. So now I don't necessarily need to have all of these all the way shoved deep in there, because I want to fill in some of the gaps, and I want to make sure that it looks perfect all the way around and everything is kind of in place. So we're just adding in all of the different elements. And you also want to make sure that you've got your balance going on. So what you put on one side, you want to make sure that you put on the other. So for example, I've got my purple filler here, and then you take this and you want to put it on the other side. So that's a really easy tip to follow too, as you're starting to become a floral designer. I'm going to move this over. It would help if they were on one side. Okay, so, all right, now I'm going to show you something here as I'm looking at the video. So I don't like these 3 roses all in a row like that. So what I'm going to do is spread them out a little bit and then continue adding my filler. Don't get too picky right away. You can always go back and manipulate this arrangement. So it's okay if things aren't coming together exactly the way that you want it, because it's a work of art. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of get everything in its place. Now I'm putting these particular guys, these little ones with the eyeballs, they're short stems, so these are just going to go around the bottom and create sort of a rounded effect at the base of the vase. Okay? And then don't be afraid to have things go in and out so that you have some texture and you have some depth and dimension. My pieces are falling off here, okay? And then if you have a hole here, it's okay. Just go ahead and put your piece in there. So this is when you go around and you find your holes in your design, which means it's a part of the design that looks like it needs something. You know, you can tell that it's not quite filled in correctly. And then your eyeballs, you know, if you have that particular type of component, you want to make sure those are all balanced. They're not just in one area. Okay. And just kind of looking around so I can see. I'll show you here how there isn't any black here by turning it around. So I'm going to go ahead and add my black flower here. Okay. And my pieces keep falling off. I need a bigger table here. Okay, and I feel like there's a little bit of a hole here, so I'm putting this is a black hand. Then I'm gonna stand back. This I have extra, so I'm gonna see if there's a place that I want, and it looks like there's a little bit of a hole here because I have shorter pieces intermixed with longer pieces. So I wanna fill this in, if I can get this guy in. See, you gotta fight with it. Don't let your flowers win. You're the boss, okay? So this is looking pretty balanced, as I can see. Now I'm just looking for color. So I feel like there's a hole here. I've just put in a black flower because I felt like there was a hole. And then over here, same thing. I feel like there's a hole here, right there. You see that? Right there. So I want to go ahead and fill that in. Now, this is a short guy, but that doesn't matter. You can just put it in like that. And another problem is there's no sparkly down here. So I'm putting in sparkles. Now this is kind of a wild design because it's Halloween. So you can get away with different things for different holidays. Okay. All right. So here we go. Now you've got your floral arrangement complete. And then at this point you can go ahead and fill the rest of the vase with your filler. But you just kind of turn it around, make sure that it's all balanced, and just kind of look and make sure that you like it. If you need to make some adjustments, if the roses are too close together, this one I can put in the center. I mean, I could manipulate this a little bit, you know, if I wanted to be really super picky, but for the most part, that's how you do a vase arrangement. Heather with Christmas Design Institute. This is part 1 of Floral Design. Thank you so much, and we'll see you with the next one.